Today I'm going to be doing a video on how to replace the brake pads, the rotor, and also to repack the bearings, since I'm going to be opening this up in order to get the rotor out on this 1999 Nissan Pathfinder. Okay, so the first thing to do is what you want to do is to remove this part. Calipers. You'll see that there's two bolts, one here and one down here, to remove. After that, you're going to want to remove the actual brake caliper, and you want to use this bolt down here, and there's another one back over here, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's taken off. Alright, so once you loosen the bolts, this comes right apart, and you want to make sure you don't want to bend the brake hose. So what you want to do is get two zip ties, fit it somewhere where it will be stable enough so it won't go nowhere. Like mine stays right here. Connect to the spring, tie it up so it doesn't go anywhere, and you're set. Then you have to take this apart. I already pre-loosened it already, so the two bolts are back here. Make sure you save it, and this comes right apart with the brake pads, or you can remove it. So first you want to remove this part, and then you want to take these apart. I already got it pre-loosened. All you have to do is just keep spinning it around until it finally just pops apart, like so. And then you want to remove all these, which I already loosened, and then take those apart. Now once you remove the cap from here and all these bolts, you want to get your snap ring pliers and go in between here and get the C clamp off. Alright, once you get this loosened up, this should come off right away. Then after that, you want to find the screw to unscrew the ring that's holding the ball bearing. Should be one or two screws. I only have one. After that, you want to get a magnet, and just that pops right out. Then you want to use a screwdriver that's thin enough that can fit through the big hole, and then just find a hole and twist it off. After that's off, next you want to remove this whole thing, and be careful because the wheel bearing is right here, so just give it a jiggle a little bit and just lightly pull it, and it's off. Once you get the whole router off, you want to get rid of all this grease and put new grease. After you clean it, it should look like this. And then now we're next off to cleaning the wheel bearings. Alright, after you get your rotor removed, you want to get the wheel bearings out from the front and the back. The front's easy, just comes right off. The back, not so much, because it's on a seal back here. And the best way to get it off is either to use your new router upside down, or an old one like I have. Put it upside down, and then what you want to do is to get a hammer and just tap it out, and it comes out just like that. Stop. Alright, the next step is you want to remove all these bolts, so that way you can take this part apart and get rid of your old rotor. Then if it's stuck, all you need to do is just give it a bit of a hammer, and it should pop off just like that. Alright, the next step you want to do is clean the insides of here and all the parts that was inside the router, and make sure it's clean and good, get all the grease off. After you are done cleaning all these parts, you want to make sure you visually check the wheel bearings to make sure there isn't any cracks or any defects that you just don't want to have. If you do see any, I would highly recommend to get new ones because this makes your car spin around. And I also noticed on this ring for the back part, there was this little metal spring that was connected back here. So if you do have it, put it back on. If you don't have it, I wouldn't really worry too much about it because on the other side I didn't see no metal ring. Next, you want to grease all of these parts. So just get a big nice glob of grease. Make sure it's actual grease for ball bearings because there's different types of grease out there. You want to just rub it all in there. Don't be too shy in putting a little bit. You can put a lot in there because the more the better. Keeps the rust out. Alright, after you get this all greased up, the next step is to grease this up. You can use a wheel bearing greaser, or you can do it the old-fashioned way. I prefer this way a lot better. It works. All you have to do is just clamp this in tight. Make sure it's on. Tighten it up a little bit. And you get your grease gun. And you just pump away. Now, in order to make sure that your wheel bearings are packed, you can tell that there's squiggly lines protruding out once I keep pumping. That's how you know that it's fully packed. Alright, once you pack your bearings for the back part, you want to just place it in until it's in. You want to get the back part of it, get the little extra grease that you got from packing it with the wheel bearing packer, and just grease that up a little bit all over. Don't be afraid. And you want to place it leveled up right into here, and then you want to get the hammer or mallet and just mallet it in between, so that way it's nice and sealed in. Alright, the next step is once you put the seal for the back wheel bearing, the next step you want to put it on the new rotor. And you want to flip it over and line it up with the holes and screw in the bolts. You just want to bolt it back on. Alright, the next step is once you're done packing the bearings and then you put the bearings inside the socket, you want to grease this up. Don't be too shy again to use plenty because you don't want rust to appear anywhere on here. You can use the excess grease from your ball bearing that you're going to need to use soon. After the rotor is connected to the wheel assembly, Now you can place it in. Now I put the wheel bearing in already, so I don't have to worry about it after. And it just slides right in, just like that. After you put the rotor in and the wheel bearings in, you want to put the big thick screw that we took off earlier before, and then you want to put that back on. It's a little finicky because I don't have the right tool to actually screw it on there. But once you know it, you got the thread on, you can just screw it right on. And not too tight, but just enough to where it stops, because the next ring that you put in, the screw has to go in and make sure it won't go nowhere. Hopefully I did it good enough to where it's nice. And I did. The screws, nails going in. Once that's done, you want to put back this piece, put a little bit of grease in there, all around it, that way you don't get rust build up no more. Same with the inside here. I'm going to place it back in. Once it's fully in, then you want to get your C-ring back on, and you can tell because there's a little notch in between here. And it's on. Once you got the C-clamp in, you can screw on these nuts. Once you tighten up all these bolts, you want to put a little bit of grease around here and put some grease at the cap, and then place it back in, and then lightly tap it with a hammer. Then after that, you want to clean all this grease and also on the rotors, so that way we can put the brake caliper in and the brake pads in. Once the brake rotor is all clean, then you can finally put the brake assembly. Lightly thread them in on both sides. And then tighten it up with a ratchet. Alright, next, after you put this installed, it's time for the brake pads. Just put them on like so. Next, you want to put some brake lubricant, and you want to spread it on both sides evenly, and spread it all around that metal plate. Once you get the brake pads set in, you want to set this up. And the best way to do is use your old brake pads. Place it where it used to belong. And then get a clamp. And then clamp it together till the brake pads fully compress. After you compress the brake caliper, you can fit it right in, like so, and then screw on the bolts. So after you're done tightening the bolts for the brake caliper, for the brake pads, you're pretty much done, and you have a nice looking brake system. You got new brake pads, new rotor, and your wheel bearings are packed. All you have to do is just put the tire on and you're done. Thanks for watching. Also, I don't know why I keep saying router or router. It's rotor. I know what it is. I don't know why I said it on the videos. Don't ask.